Hi, kids. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. As usual, I will be answering questions that were submitted ahead of time by my wonderful patrons and channel members. First thing, so if you're with us in the live chat and you have something you want me to pay attention to, whether it's a comment or a question or a super chat or anything like that, please, if possible, hold on to it until I get through with all of the patron and member questions, and then I will be paying full attention to the live chat for the remainder of the show. So, shall we get started with the patron and member questions? I think we shall. The first one is from Matt L., who says, I know you've touched on this a bit, but don't you think it's ironic how the law and order and back the blue party of the Republicans now hates the FBI? Even more so than Rand Paul, even more so that Rand Paul now wants to decriminalize sharing state secrets with enemy nations. Personally, what are your bets on an actual indictment coming out of this? I'm hopeful, but it's like 30% at this point, given everything else he's gotten away with. Oh, and fun fact, even if he ends up being a convicted felon, he can still become president. I guess the founding fathers put more faith in our society than they should have. Or more faith in the people they presumed would be running for high office, at any rate. Yeah, I mean, I would not put money on Trump seeing any serious consequences. Like, I would not bet that he will get indicted or do prison time or anything for anything like this. But I am more hopeful that that will happen now than I have been at any point up until now. I think the search warrant being carried out by the FBI on his property and the fact that he is under suspicion for violating a number of very serious laws, including the Espionage Act, gives me hope that something might happen, but I'm not, like I say, I'm not going to place any bets on it. And yeah, it's not so much ironic as it is just completely on brand, completely expected. Like we have been taught to expect this sort of thing by the Republicans at this point. Trump gets, he hasn't even been charged with anything yet, but he has a search warrant executed on his property for suspicion of having violated the Espionage Act. And within days, Rand Paul is like, we should repeal the Espionage Act. Like, it really? You're okay. I mean, you're kind of laying your cards on the table there, aren't you? But it's what we have been taught to expect. You know, they're hypocrites. If they get caught breaking a law, they've gotten to the point now, well, they will just come out on TV in public and say, we should repeal that law that we just got in trouble for breaking. Like, that's, you know, the law and order thing is an affectation, as all of their supposed principles are. They don't actually have beliefs. You know, they don't actually have principles. They just say shit that they think will get them elected. They say shit that they think will appeal to their base, and that's what they do. So, you know, but I'm a little hopeful that there might be actual consequences faced by Trump as a result of this, but I'm not betting on it. David Colby back without COVID. Congratulations, my friend. Last time you had an Ask Away, I said I couldn't make it because I was too busy making out with a girl, and you said, have fun with your Canadian girlfriend, in reference to the oft-used, I have a girlfriend, but she's in Canada bit from our schoolyard days. But ironically, she actually was a Canadian girl. I was in Ottawa. It was weirdly comforting to learn that conservative dipshits actively working to ruin public utilities so they can sell them to corporations is a thing going on in Canada too. We're not unique. Yay! Also, as my name implied, I didn't get COVID. Now for a question. Favorite non-Star Trek movie that you'd count as a Star Trek movie, and why? Well, first of all, congratulations on the non-COVID and the genuine, 100% authentic Canadian girlfriend. You might be the first one to actually legitimately have a Canadian girlfriend. Favorite non-Star Trek movie? Well, the obvious answer is Galaxy Quest, but I mean, everybody says Galaxy Quest. Like literally every single time I have tweeted or posted on Facebook or anything where it's like a listing, it's rank the Star Trek movies. Because every once in a while, I just can't help it. I can't resist. Somebody tweets and says, okay, favorite Star Trek movies, go, or rank the Star Trek movies, go. And if I'm bored and have a few minutes to kill, I'm like, all right, screw it. And I'll come up with, and usually it's the ranking is about the same, but I'm just thinking of it off the top of my head. And every time I tweet something like that and I have my rankings of best Star Trek movies, invariably somebody replies with, well, where's Galaxy Quest? It's like, yes, of course, because Galaxy Quest is a Star Trek movie, right? So I got to say Galaxy Quest, but I would also be remiss if I didn't say Forbidden Planet, which, I mean, I kind of did a video about that not too long ago, that Forbidden Planet it's like a Star Trek before Star Trek. If you watch Forbidden Planet, it's kind of striking how similar it feels, both structurally and tonally, and even in a few ways, even aesthetically, to a Star Trek episode. Like, it really has a Star Trek vibe to it. And it came out, like 10 years before Star Trek? And was an influence on Star Trek, clearly, which is what I talk about in the video. But yeah, if I'm going to say non-Star Trek Star Trek movies, Forbidden Planet has got to be right up there. And I think Forbidden Planet is a better movie than Galaxy Quest, so I would even put it at the top of my personal list. So Galaxy Quest, of non-Star Trek Star Trek movies, Galaxy Quest would be right here, and Forbidden Planet would be, maybe like right about here, But yeah, Forbidden Planet for sure. Radar. So I have this weird idea. At the end of time, wouldn't all the immortal characters just drift together into a big clump because of gravity? Like heat death of the universe and just a big naked clump of immortals, because clothes wouldn't survive. I'm asking you specifically with your knowledge. Riff on that idea for a while, whatever it makes you think of. If nothing, then shrug. I'm good with a dud, but that's anyway, and hope you stay safe and continue to have fun with the entertainment you make us. Love to you, Dana and Jason. Peace and long life. Well, thank you very much, Radar. I appreciate that. And I will pass that on to Dana and to Jason as well. We appreciate your support and your love. Yeah, that is such a funny idea. All of the immortals just kind of clumping together. I picture like, what was it? Batman and Robin and Batgirl in one of the cliffhangers from the 3rd season of Batman, or well, actually, I don't know if it was a cliffhanger because I don't think they did cliffhangers in season 3, but maybe it was like a commercial break cliffhanger where they were tied into a human knot, so it's the 3 of them and their arms and legs are all tangled together and they're kind of, face to face on the floor or whatever. Kind of like that, but with immortal characters, so it could be like, who would be a good immortal? Who would be the immortal characters that would be? See, this is the part where I'm drawing a blank. I can't think of any immortal characters. I mean, there's the immortal. I would say the immortal guy from that Twilight Zone episode, Long Live Walter Jameson, but he dies. Spoiler alert for a Twilight Zone episode, but he dies in that. I don't know. I can't think of any immortal characters. So I'm drawing a blank on the number on any of the specific characters. So I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to give you much of a riff. So I'll give you the shrug instead. I don't know. But I summoned an image, like I made a reference to something from another show, and by the modern standards of comedy, that counts as a joke. Keurig. We finally got to the end of series 1 of Strange New Worlds here in the UK. It was a really good finale. I think my temporal distance from the original series helped to see the episode on its own rather than an adjunct to Balance of Terror. I liked new Kirk without worrying how close it was to old Kirk in the companion episode. So my question is, what would you do with a time crystal or your future self came back and told you to stop YouTube and social media or it would cause a disaster? I think I would do what Pike did. I would want to see the future. I would want proof. I'd want to see how bad things would get if I didn't do what my future self asked me to do. I mean, I feel like what Pike does in the episode is reasonable. I mean, it's reasonable, especially for him, because he's a character in Star Trek where weird stuff happens all the time. So a dude who looks just like him, but older, just shows up in his apartment and is like, hey, you can't stop trying to change your fate or it's going to ruin everything. Like, I would want to see proof. So I would want to touch the time crystal and travel a few years into the future and see the terrible disaster that YouTube or social media or me being on YouTube and social media caused. Because if I'm not doing YouTube, I'm going to have to go out and get a real job. And you're really going to have to convince me that the world would end unless I do that for me to do that. So I'm gonna need that time crystal, future me. Thank you. I feel like that's, So let me see. Andrew Priest is the next question. What's your favorite weird pronunciation in Star Trek? Is it Sulu with his Klingon? How about Janeway and pecan pie? Or what about Kirk and sabotage? Or telekinesis? Or any one of 100 other Kirkisms? My favorite mispronunciation is the weird way that Scotty pronounces aluminium in Star Trek IV, A Whale of a Time. I saw this question earlier this week right after you submitted it, and I didn't actually go back and watch the relevant scenes in the movie to check, but I don't remember Scotty saying aluminum in the movie. I remember he gives transparent aluminum to the scientist guy or the engineer guy from the 20th century, but I only remember that guy saying it. I don't remember Scotty actually saying the word aluminum. So I don't know. I'll take your word for it if he actually says it, because I honestly don't remember it. But my favorite is telekinesis, because sabotage is not how most people say it, but it's kind of close. It's not like the kind of thing that makes you go, what the fuck did he just say? But it's not just that he places the emphasis on a different syllable with telekinesis. He says it in a completely different rhythm than any other human being has ever said. Telekinesis. It's like the most, if you ever are doing, or at least with me, if I'm ever trying to do a William Shatner impersonation, and for whatever reason I just can't dial into the voice and the rhythm, telekinesis is the word I use to calibrate it. Like no one but William Shatner has ever said that. You can move objects through some kind of telekinesis. Like, that's Shatner. You've got it, right? So and I say it all the time. Literally, I say it all the time. I'll be paying for gas, and they'll be like, it's $50, and I'll be like, thank you, telekinesis. I say it all the time. So I think I even worked it into an Ensign's log in one of the earlier seasons when our characters were still serving on the Kirk Enterprise. I think we did the episode that corresponds with that episode of TOS, and my character said to Jason's character something like, "Have you heard the way the captain pronounces the word telekinesis? Like, that's a little weird, right?" So it's definitely telekinesis. A Republican's wet dream. Cool. I am the sort of guy that my Trumpian friends and family think is a borderline communist. Understand they are saying this to a 30-year Army infantry officer, multiple wounds, mostly surgical steel and artificial joints in both legs, a kidney and 1/3 of a lung are missing as well, mainly because I loathe incompetence, venal, mean stupidity, and egocentric celebrities thinking they have the ability to lead America. I no longer have many guns, stopped hunting after shooting people. I hit all the race, gender, and income checkboxes the GOP loves. In reality, I am a yellow dog Democrat and evangelical Christian who spends his days working at the local homeless shelter that doesn't say dinner after you hear the sermon. My question to you is, how do you define fascism and socialism? Or if you rather, you can answer this one. Should the Democratic Party run candidates that are more matching the area they are voting, like a conservative Democrat in West Texas and a liberal one in Berkeley, California? Well, to answer that last question, I have no problem with Democrats running more conservative candidates if the calculus is this candidate can win and a more liberal or more leftist candidate can't win. I have no problem with that, but I do think there are limitations. Like if you're running, if you're running a Democrat like Henry Cuellar in Texas, who is conservative to the point that he's anti-abortion. At that point, I mean, abortion is a pretty important issue, especially now. You know what I mean? Like, why do we need that one vote that bad that we are willing to sacrifice a vote for, reproductive rights in order to get a vote for other things? I mean, there's a lot of very complicated political calculus happening, but generally speaking, I would say, you know what? If you're not pro-choice, that's never mind. No, thank you. Having a Democrat be a little further to the center on some issues and saying, let's run with that candidate in this district because they have a chance to win and people further to the left don't have a realistic chance. Like, I think that's sort of a necessary evil, and that's something I'm willing to put up with and entertain just as a pragmatic issue. But if they're too far to the right, like, what's the difference? So that's where I kind of come down on that. But, well, I mean, as to how I define fascism and socialism, I mean, both terms are too complex for me to define in a few minutes just answering a question. I mean, I think the main difference is that fascism is totalitarian and socialism, properly understood and properly implemented, is not. Socialism can be and should be democratic. And can exist in a democratic society, whereas fascism can't. Like, fascism is necessarily authoritarian, and which is one of the reasons why I think socialism is far preferable to fascism. I mean, you can have forms of socialism that are authoritarian, but I think a proper socialism, or what most actual socialists would call proper socialism, is not incompatible with democracy. And I feel like that's kind of important for me for a political system. If a political system is incompatible with democracy, then I don't think that's a good thing. If it is compatible with democracy, then we got something. So that's kind of it's a low bar, I realize, but it's a bar that I need for things to clear nonetheless. Next question is from General Contact Unit Problem Child. My idea for an actually interesting, i.e. not what if he was evil, Superman subversion. Superman is 17 and has just started his superhero career. He sees a news story about how a communist dictator has just taken power in a Latin American country. Let's call it Venezuela. So he takes out that dictator. Superman is 21, taking a journalism degree in college. Superman, now older and wiser and left-leaning, realizes the communist dictator he removed was actually just a democratically elected leftist leader of the U.S. opposed. Upset by learning this, he removes the fascist actual dictator the U.S. installed in his place. But then a far-right presidential candidate run on opposing left-wing radical Superman, now 25. What does Superman do now? The idea is, even if you want to do only good, like Superman, you're limited by your understanding of the world. P.S. Here's your face merged with Dana. And yes, everybody watching, I will show you the picture of my face merged with Dana. Okay. Here it is. And by the way, if to all of you who find this upsetting, I apologize, but here it is. This is me and Dana if we mated. I think it's a lot more me. I feel like Dana's getting cheated in this merging. It's a lot more me than Dana. But that it is they are a truly handsome, striking person, I think. I will draw no conclusions as to gender. I don't know what particular gender identity this person identifies with. If they were actually my child, then I would know by now, hopefully. But there they are. That is the merging of myself and Dana. So that's what that would have looked like, I guess. So it's the Shives genes. It's the strong Shives genes, I think. That does it. Anyway, as to your actual question, or your pitch for a Superman story, I think that's a great idea. It's very similar to something that I think I mentioned in a previous show about, if somebody wanted to do the story of Superman 4, but do it better, like that's the angle that you go by. It's Superman does something good, but then there are unintended consequences. that he has to deal with. And this is very similar, only he thinks he's doing something good, and then he realizes he didn't have all the information, so he goes back and tries to correct that mistake, and then that only makes things more complicated. I think that's a great idea for a Superman story. I really, really like that a lot. And I like having it take place over several years, and we find Superman at slightly different stages in his life. You know, he's sort of a teenager, and then he's a college student, and he's out of college, and he's a little older and a little wiser. I think that's a great idea. Yes, good pitch for a Superman story, my friend. Joe goes over. For a while now, I had been meaning to ask if you'd ever read the Star Trek comics published by DC in the 80s starring the original crew. I was impressed as a kid by how the writers managed to shoehorn their stories in with the events of the theatrical films, in particular how they aligned the comics timeline with the events of the search for Spock and the voyage home. So having said that, my question is, when it comes to mind reading, are you using the method employed by the Telosians, whereby you break into the consciousness of your victims and draw what you need from that? Or perhaps this ability of yours is merely the illusion of telepathy due to you having found some way to slingshot around the sun to pull my question from the future, negating the need for me to even ask it. Either way, I'm very impressed, but not quite to the point of forming any religious ties. The Catholic Church requires at least 2 verifiable miracles for sainthood, and this was just your first. It's neither of those. It's not Telosian telepathy or time travel. It's the Sherlock Holmes deductive method. I simply observed you and then made a series of small, reasonable deductions, and then my ability to anticipate that you were going to ask this question at some point, hence me making a video about it this week, was merely the result of all of the accumulation of those tiny little reasonable deductions. And you see, when the thing is explained step by step like that, it loses all of its mystery and power and becomes quite commonplace. So yeah. When I get a second miracle, I will definitely let you know, because I would like to be a saint. I mean, I'm not Catholic, but I don't think there's a rule that says you have to be Catholic, is there? If there is, I'm never going to be a saint. But if you can get in, like, I just want it for the resume. I just want to be able to say, you know, like, I got a YouTube plaque and I'm a saint. Some random geek who is surprised to learn that August is National Sandwich Month. Okay. What's with the okay? What's with the no respect for the humble sandwich, our favorite food? Does the sandwich not deserve a month? You commie. So, Steve, you finally saw Finding Nemo and Finding Dora. Movies you didn't seek to watch because I'm an adult. I watch adult things and not children's entertainment. But you did like Finding Nemo and Finding Dora. I also say both are really good movies. Well, would you like some recommendations of animated movies for adults, for mature audiences? The definitely not kids stuff? I just realized I answered my own question. You have seen some awesome anime movies that aren't kids or family-friendly movies, like Grave of the Fireflies and Royal Space Force, Wings of Oniyamas. And oh yes, more and more people should watch Wings of Oniyama's great underrated movie. And I'm sure you are often busy and don't have time for recommendations. I bet you already have a list too, but have you seen the movies Perfect Blue, Millennial Actress, Tokyo Godfathers, and or Paprika? Great animated movies by the late, great Satoshi Kon. I have not seen any of those. I have heard of a couple of them. I know I've heard people mention the titles Millennial Actress and Tokyo Godfathers before. Those two sound familiar, but I have not seen them and I've not seen the others. So no, I do have a list. I will add these to my list. I have no idea when I will ever get around to seeing them. But thank you very much for the recommendations. I do really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I've really watched any anime. Like, I watched Grave of the Fireflies and Wings of Oniyamas in my early 20s when I was making more of an effort to at least see like the major sort of milestones of anime. And I haven't really put forth much effort toward that lately. But yeah, I will remember these and see if I can watch them sometime. But no timeline as to when. But I do really appreciate the recommendations for sure. Agent Meister, Peldor Joyce, Steve, did you know that it's been 20 years since DC published the Bruce Wayne murderer slash fugitive saga in the Batman comics? This has always been my favorite storyline, and it was the last Bat event that I really cared about. It started with Gordon's retirement after being shot, and over the course of the next 14 months, set the stage for Bruce being framed for murder. One of the story threads involved him pushing all those close to him away, such as Dick, Alfred, Babs, and Tim. It was the effect on Bruce's mental health that I found powerful, and that aspect was highlighted in an issue where Bruce actually has a conversation with his alter ego. The story ended with Bruce breaking down in front of a picture of his parents. The scene is only 3 panels, no text, but the art was so striking I was reduced to tears myself. This event isn't perfect, but I feel it never got the praise it deserved. Do you remember it? If so, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Thanks for reading and take care. I do remember it, but I must admit I haven't really read any of it. I think I read, actually no, I read the Bruce Wayne Fugitive trade paperback a long time ago, like I guess not too long after it first was published as a trade paperback. But to be honest with you, I remember almost none of it. Like I remember thinking it was good. I remember liking it. You know, I certainly don't remember reading it and going, oh, what the hell is this? Like, I remember thinking it was okay at least, but I mean, I'll be damned if I can, if I could remember a single pertinent plot point about it, you know, other than Bruce Wayne framed for murder. You know what I mean? Like it's completely gone out of my head. So I can't, I am somewhat dismayed to learn that it has been 20 years. I mean, I guess it's been 20 years since a lot of stuff. So, but for some reason, I thought it was more recent than that. For some reason, I thought Bruce Wayne Murderer was like around 2005 or something, but I take your word for it that it was 20 years ago. So damn. Anyway, no, but unfortunately, I don't remember anything too specific about it. I remember, wasn't Bruce Wayne Murderer one of the giveaways at the first, or one of the first free comic book days? Like that was a promotion that DC did that year, was the first issue of the Bruce Wayne Murderer saga was one of the free comic giveaways. I remember something about that, but I don't really remember much about the actual story. Joe McClory. When I started my job nearly 5 years ago, I had a coworker in my training class that also worked on the ward I work on for over 4 years, and we've been pretty close friends until she ended up leaving the job. Early on the morning of the 6th this month, she passed away after being sick, which I didn't know about, from a chronic medical condition I also didn't know about. All of this hit me like a truck in the middle of a 16-hour shift. I feel sad she is gone and like a bad friend for not knowing, or at least not nearly as close a friend as I thought we were. I don't think I've ever had a closer friend from work, but I am left to wonder how close we were. And I feel selfish for thinking that, and I know that closure feels unlikely. I miss my friend, and I miss the closer friendship we might have had if I had made more of an effort to know her more outside of work. And I'm left wondering if I should try harder with others, or just having work be work, have to feel this confusing loss. I will say this to you. And first of all, my condolences on losing your friend. I say this to myself when I lose someone close to me, or when I even contemplate losing someone close to me. And I say this to other people as well if they are in need of advice or comfort after such a thing. Anytime anyone close to you dies, you will always feel like you could have or should have done more for them or spent more time with them. I don't think there is any avoiding that. You know, when my granny died, I felt that. And I spent more time with my granny throughout my life and her life than I perhaps have spent with any other person. You know, but I still felt that. I still felt like, you know, I wish I had seen her more. I wish I had spent more time with her. I wish we had had more talks, and we were as close as two people can be practically. So there's no getting away from that. So what you feel is completely natural, and it doesn't mean that you actually did anything wrong or that you weren't a good friend. It just means that you miss a person. Now, like you say, like now your friend isn't here anymore. Now you won't have any more time to spend together. The time that you did spend together is all you get. And it suddenly feels, no matter how much of it there was, it suddenly feels small and too brief. You know, that's just the way it works. If you do take it as a motivation to get closer to people or to spend more time with the people that you care about in your life, then I think that's a wonderful thing. But by the same token, I mean, if you decide that, you know, it hurts too much and you don't want to get close like that to another person at work to spare yourself something like this happening in the future, I think that's fine too. You know, when some people lose a beloved pet, the first thing they do as soon as they're emotionally ready is go out and get another cat or another dog, you know. And some people take a few years or never get another pet. Like they want to spare themselves the pain of losing someone like that again. So they just don't. And I think both choices are equally valid. I don't think anyone is doing anything wrong in that situation. And it applies to humans too. If you lose a friend and you decide, okay, she was my work friend and I don't want to have work friends that are that close anymore. I want to just draw a harder line in my life between personal life and work life, so I don't feel like this anymore in the future, then I think that's perfectly fine. But if you take it the opposite way and say, I want to be closer to more people, or I want to spend more time with the people I am close to, I think that's great too. I mean, I'm not really giving you any advice. I'm just telling you that how you feel is valid, how you feel is normal and fine. And after you take some time to work through this and grieve, whatever you decide to do is up to you, and whatever choice you make is fine. You know? And I mean, again, I'm really sorry that you've experienced this loss and you have to go through that, Joe. I'm very sorry to hear that. Isaiah Taylor. So, Steve, I'm about to do something that I have never done before. For the first time, I'm fixing to vote and contact one of my local politicians for the state of Florida. Her name is Nikki Fried, and she is the only Democrat in Florida running as our first female governor to unseat DeSantis. If I get to meet her, I want to coach her on some talking points to combat DeSantis, such as his refusal to confront neo-Nazis at his rallies, his bullshit cultural war issues. I seriously considering wanting to work on her campaign. She's down by only 7 points, DeSantis 50% to Fried at 43. I can't wait to vote for her in the primary and in the general election in November. Let's go Fried, or in Trekkie terms, red alert, all hands, battle stations, Ensign Eilish, take us into the neutral zone. We're voting Democrat in Florida. I'm captain of the Galaxy-class ship USS Olympic. All non-essential personnel have been removed back to Deep Space Nine. I like that. Anyway, back to the real world. Democrats need to fight. If you can, you know, if you feel motivated to volunteer for that campaign and you feel like you have something to contribute, I think that's fantastic. I would very much encourage you to do that. Yeah, I think that's great. And my God, having a Democrat beat DeSantis would be fantastic. For Florida, first and foremost, and for the country in general. It would be such a great morale boost to be like, oh shit, DeSantis lost. That would be great. So yeah, I support you 100% in this, my friend. If that's something you decide you want to do, I hope you do it. I think that's great. And yes, I agree with you 100%. Your closing sentiment there. Democrats need to fight. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. CMAC. What? Nothing to see here. Hi, Steve. Hope you're well. So these last couple of weeks have seen a number of political victories for our side. Actual accomplishments. Not far enough, but important accomplishments nonetheless. So I wanted to take a moment to celebrate actually passing legislation. Aside from that, cops. Small town departments are resigning en masse, often in response to a black town manager. in large cities like my home of Philly, I was recently at a neighborhood meeting here attended by residents, business owners, and local senior beat cop in Philly, where, when discussing the increase in muggings and shootings around here, the officer in attendance said, "We should be grateful for the coverage we have after the neighborhood showed its support for BLM and by voting in a progressive DA. Do these assholes think they're making friends? Oh, you can't recruit in black neighborhoods. Really? You don't say. Couldn't be anything wrong with the department. No, never." Not a question, but I 100% I 100% share your sentiment. Isn't it amazing? Like, the entitlement. That's the thing that strikes me most often when cops are forced to deal with this kind of thing, with community sentiment, with, people in the community that are critical of the police department or critical of particular cops or are protesting, or even not even to the level of protesting, just expressing concern about an issue or something. The entitlement from so many cops and so many police departments in general is astonishing to me. Well, you all are lucky you get as much as you do. Oh, what? We're supposed to protect you after you did all those Black Lives Matter marches? Yeah. Yeah, that's your job. Oh, what? You're mad at us because we're corrupt and violent and we are allowed to shoot people and get away with it? What? Oh, what? Now we're the bad guys? Yeah, kinda. Like, yeah. It's, do as I say, not as I do. It's the rules. The rules are for thee, not for me. Like, it's all of that double standard and hypocrisy. Yeah. I say it's shocking, but at this point it's not, or at least it shouldn't be. Matt Lohr, hi Steve. Do you have any favorite documentaries, especially involving social issues? I'm currently watching Adam Curtis's The Power of Nightmares, and it is very riveting. Wishing you a great weekend. Well, I am a big sucker for Ken Burns, so I would recommend anything Ken Burns has ever done. And actually, if you're looking for like political stuff or social issues, he and his daughter, I believe, co-directed a documentary several years ago about the Central Park Five, the 5 young men who were falsely accused of a horrible crime in New York City, who were eventually exonerated and released from prison after serving in prison for many years. He and his daughter did a multi-part documentary series about that was fantastic. So if you haven't seen that, dealing with the social and racial issues involved, because it was 5 black men who were accused of assaulting a white woman, and there was a lot of racism flying around in that case. And the documentary does a really good job of retelling that story and exploring those issues of racism and other issues that were pertinent to that story. So I would recommend that if you haven't seen that already. There's another, and speaking of race issues, Burns did another great documentary. It was a 2-part documentary he did about maybe 10 or 12 years ago about Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, called Unforgivable Blackness. That, again, is just fantastic and really dives into the racial issues, because Jack Johnson was active in the early 20th century. So it's a sort of a snapshot and an examination of not just of racism, but of racism in a particularly interesting time in American history. So both of those I would recommend very highly. Yeah, there's also The Thin Blue Line by Errol Morris, which is a great look at speaking of problems with the police, from CMAC's question. Paradise Lost. There's 3 Paradise Lost movies now directed by Joe Berlinger, who now is like a huge name in true crime and has done a bunch of Netflix documentaries. But he made his name on a trio of documentaries for HBO that he made many years apart. He did one, and then he would revisit the case every several years. And I think he ended up doing 3 called Paradise Lost, about a group of people who were, as it turns out, falsely accused of a murder, and the various social and economic and moral panic type issues that were involved in that. So that's a really interesting one as well. So there you go. If you haven't seen any of those, hopefully you'll check some of those out and you'll enjoy them. Russell, hey Steve, long no see. I've been busy in my personal life and I have missed the last few of these. Hope you are well, my friend. Anyways, my question will be DS9 related, actually. The episode you recently watched titled Past Tense. Anyway, my question is this. In this episode, we have two types, the dims and the gimmies. In today's society, what is your viewpoint on the two different subjects? Because I feel like the dims deserve help from the system, but the gimmies need to take responsibility for themselves. I know this seems harsh, but I feel like some people take advantage of the system when they can clearly make an effort for themselves. Well, here's the thing about that. Technically, I agree with you. Are there some people who take advantage of the system when they don't need its help? Sure. Is that a very large number of people? Not really. I mean, I really don't think so. All of the government reports I've ever seen over the years about fraud in the various social welfare programs, like the nutrition assistance, what we usually call food stamps, and other forms of government social welfare programs, they have a really, really low fraud rate. You know, it's very, very uncommon for somebody to be found to have gotten benefits that they did not actually quote unquote deserve. The whole idea of who deserves help and who doesn't is a completely different issue that I will sidestep for the moment. But the whole idea of means testing and, you know, trying to decide, well, who deserves help from this program and who doesn't, and how do we determine that? That's a whole different issue. But the instances of people who take advantage of the system are a lot rarer than many people imagine they are. So I don't really think the gimmies, so to speak, are that much of a problem. And the dims, yes, of course, they deserve help. We definitely agree with that. Gimmies taking advantage of the system, I don't think happens nearly as often as people who are afraid that is happening think it is. No clever nicknames, just Dana, which is a perfectly lovely name on its own. It certainly is. What do you know about prison abolition? And to what extent do you support it? I'm pretty sure you're in the holy fudge, the United States imprisons way too many people camp. But I'm not sure if you're in the no prisons at all ever camp. Are you? If so, how should we get to such a society? And if not, what sort of act do you think do merit imprisonment? And why those but not others? Happy Friday, Steve. Well, thank you, Dana. I don't think I've ever said holy fudge in my life, unless I was making fun of people who say holy fudge. So let's just get that out of the way right now. Yes, I am pro-prison abolition. I would not say I am in the no prisons at all ever camp, just because I think that's unrealistic. I think there are people in society who are so dangerous and incorrigible that the only thing we really can do with them for the good of everybody else is to just sequester them away from other people. So I believe that prisons will always be necessary for that reason. But I think we should be moving more toward the Norwegian model, where prisons are seen as rehabilitative. And the goal is to first of all, the goal is to send fewer people to prison, period. You know, like don't send people to prison in the first place unless you feel like that's the only option to deal with whatever their crime has been. And second, once they get to prison, those who are able to be rehabilitated so that they can be released at some point and return to society and not reoffend and not hurt people again. Which again, judging by the findings, the statistics of Scandinavian prisons, is probably most people. Then that should be the goal. I don't believe that the purpose of sending people to prison should be to punish them or to make them suffer for their crimes. It should be to either rehabilitate them so they don't commit crimes like that in the future and they can be released, or to simply hold them away, to sequester them away from society so that they can't commit those kinds of crimes again. You know, I don't think the punishment part of the justice system is what we should focus on. And unfortunately, I think that's where most people focus on. You talk about, oh, criminals, they need to pay. We need to punish them. We need to send them to prison for 100 years to make them pay for what they did. I mean, like I said, I do believe there are some people who are so incorrigible, and there are some crimes that are so horrendous. Serial killers, serial rapists, people who do physical violent harm to children, who either have a personality or perhaps a mental illness or some kind of thing about them where they can't be rehabilitated. You can never be satisfied that they will not be a risk to other people. So you have to hold them away from the rest of society. But that's not most people. That's not most criminals. That's not most people in prison. So I don't think we should have that attitude. We should have the attitude of, let's try to rehabilitate as many of these people as possible. Let's have prisons with humane conditions. Let's treat people fairly. Let's treat people with humanity, and let's try to reform as many people as we can, which again is the Norwegian model, and they seem to do really well with that. There are still cases where it doesn't work for everybody. There are those special cases that are just, as I keep saying, incorrigible, but they have a much better track record of results and lack of recidivism and people being able to peacefully re-enter society than we have. So I think we should try it more their way than our way. Black Cover 95, I'll be honest, I'm running out of things to ask. In the interest of getting my money's worth, I went back to your Canon-proof Star Trek video, and I have a few ideas. Whenever scenes are replayed, e.g. security footage, flashbacks, only use alternate takes. Also, have the personalities of the characters change every few seasons. Use these personalities when depicting the characters' past or future selves as if they were that way all their lives. Have classic characters show up even though they should be dead at that point in Trek canon, e.g. Kirk. Do these sound good to you? Also, which character would be a good substitute for MacGyver if Richard Dean Anderson dies? First of all, your canon-proof Star Trek suggestions are all great. My favorite is only using alternate takes when events that we've already seen are shown to us again. I love that idea because it's subtle. You know what I mean? Like it's because it for the canon obsessed fans, to the nitpickers, it puts that idea in their head of like, well, wait, which one was real? Which one actually happened? And I love that because none of it actually happened. It's a fake TV show. Just go with it. But yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I guess, are you asking which Star Trek character would be a good substitute for MacGyver? Probably Chief O'Brien. I think Chief O'Brien would be a fair MacGyver. I mean, MacGyver, I think it turns out that MacGyver is Scottish, doesn't it? MacGyver is Scottish, or I mean, he's American, but his ancestry is Scottish, and O'Brien is Irish. But they both have similar, they're good improvisers. They're good under pressure, Or I guess, I mean, you could say Scotty too. Like one of the Star Trek engineers would be a good substitute for MacGyver. I'm saying either O'Brien or Scotty would be a good MacGyver in a pinch if the original MacGyver is no longer available. Seth Merck, hey Steve, Everything Everywhere All at Once is such a goddamn good movie. It made me angry. I've been planning a novel for years now that was meant to have similar themes and a conclusion, but there's no point writing it now because they did it better than I ever could. It's such a good movie, it's intimidating. I've written screenplays and am writing one now, but watching that movie hit me with the sense that I could never write anything that creative or affecting. I love the movie, and it also gave me a complex. Have you had these reactions to any media? Can you share some examples? P.S. If you're up for it, what the hell is going on with CM Punk? Well, I will definitely answer the Punk question in a minute. A lot of Paul Thomas Anderson movies have given me that reaction. Like, I'm a huge admirer of Paul Thomas Anderson as a director and a writer. I think he's a genius. Magnolia is one of my favorite movies ever. There Will Be Blood is one of my favorite movies ever. I love his work. I love his style. I love his dialogue, his visual sensibilities. I just think he's fantastic. And yeah, I mean, when I first saw Magnolia came out when I was 19. So when I first saw Magnolia, it had sort of two effects on me at once. It made me want to write something because I saw it, and especially the writing in Magnolia really reached out and grabbed me, and it made me want to write. It made me want to write a screenplay. It made me think, God damn it, this is so great. I need to write something. But it also made me think, whatever you write, it's not going to be this good. Like, are you kidding? It's not going to be this good. You're never going to be as good as that. But so it was that, but not in a discouraging way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it gave me a complex, but it definitely gave me a sense of perspective and proportion. You know, it made me want to reach for that, to try and do something that great. But it also reminded me, you're never going to get that. It's like I don't know if. So, but that wasn't discouraging for some reason. It was almost like I was challenging myself to say, you're never going to be that good. Start writing. You're never going to be that good, So, but yeah, I mean, I've had that reaction to stuff before, for sure. I'm a huge Batman fan. I wrote a Batman screenplay in high school. And when I saw The Dark Knight, I kind of had that thought too of like, oh shit, and The Dark Knight is nothing like any Batman movie I would have written or ever tried to write or ever thought about writing, but it was so goddamn good that after I saw it, I thought, that's the Batman movie I thought I'd never see. I never thought that we as Batman fans would get a movie this good. And I had kind of a response to like, damn, the movie I wrote was Jesus Christ, like why would anybody want to make the movie I wrote when this was, you know what I mean? So yeah, and I mean, and the more recent one, The Batman, is as good, if not better, than The Dark Knight. So it's like, shit, we got two Batman movies in a single lifetime that are better than anything I ever expected to get. So yeah, I know exactly the feeling you're talking about. And as for CM Punk, I think, and for anybody who doesn't know, CM Punk, we're talking wrestling. CM Punk is the AEW World Champion. He just came back from injury. He broke his foot shortly after winning the title over the summer, and he's been out for a few months healing and rehabbing, and now he's back. And he came out and gave his return promo on TV this past week, and at the beginning, he called out Adam Page, who is another wrestler who apparently he is the wrestler he actually won the title from over the summer. But he said something about Adam Page in the promo that he was not supposed to say. It was not a planned part of his promo. As they say, he went into business for himself, which is unprofessional and also a little, it's unprofessional, and it's not a good idea to do regardless, because he's not working with Adam Page. Like, he comes out and he talks shit about Adam Page, but he's not working with Adam Page. There's no match with Adam Page coming up. So he shouldn't be talking about Adam Page on TV. He's confusing the issue. His opponent coming up is Jon Moxley. So he should be talking about, and he goes on and he does talk about Jon Moxley and cuts a really good promo against Jon Moxley. And then Jon Moxley comes out and cuts a really good promo on CM Punk. Like, the whole segment I thought was great. And then they brawled, and then Moxley came back out later in the show and they brawled again. Like, it was really well done. But the Adam Page stuff sticks out because within the context of the fictional wrestling story, it doesn't mean anything because he's not working with Adam Page. He's working with Moxley next. And I don't think Adam Page was even there, or certainly didn't come out on the show. So it just feels out of place. And it was personal stuff between him and Page that, I don't think belonged on the show, and makes Punk seem like kind of a dick. But I think maybe part of the explanation is that Punk is finally in a situation after his entire career. He was gone for 7 years. He came back for AEW, and it's the first time where he's in a major company and he is the top guy, and he's being treated and pushed like the top guy, right? He's legitimately, no question about it, the top guy in AEW right now. I don't really see how anybody can make an argument for anybody else. Punk is the top guy. and he's the world champion. So he's presented as the top star in the company. And I think maybe he's a little protective of that because he's been in situations in the past during his WWE run where he thought he should have been the top guy, or the fans were reacting to him as though he was the top guy. He had been given the world championship, which usually is the championship you give to the top guy, but he was never really treated like the top guy. The company never put that faith in him to say, you're our top star, we're going to treat you that way and present you that way, and we're going to run with you. They never did that for him, and AEW is doing it. And I think maybe he's a little overprotective of that. And when he perceives somebody slighting him or insulting him or trying to start shit with him, like in real life, not as a part of the wrestling story, then he reacts to that. And he wants to smash that and say, hey, you need to respect me. I'm the top guy. I'm the top star in this company. You know, I'm the draw. I'm king of the hill. You need to respect me. Because he didn't feel like he was respected before. So I think maybe that's part of the explanation. It could also be as simple as actually CM Punk is kind of a dick. And that's just the way he reacts to stuff. He's, you know, a little thin-skinned about certain things, and he is a dick. I think that could be it too. So I don't know. But yeah. What I really want to know is what the hell are they doing putting the unification match on TV next week? Why is that not the pay-per-view match? Like, I'm curious to see what the pay-per-view match is going to be since they're giving away Mox versus Punk on TV next week. So I guess we'll find out. But no, I think if I had to psychoanalyze the guy, which I am not qualified to do it, I think it's probably something like that. And finally, last patron member question from Lisa Garrison, who says, did you see Destiny's manifesto talking about his ban for alleged transphobia? Over an hour of the reading of it is like 50 letters from trans people just explaining how behavior from trans-identified people who aren't out really in real life is really harmful to the community. It is a perspective I don't think is being heard enough. Well, as far as, no, I pay very little attention to Destiny. The only time I ever pay attention to Destiny is when I see somebody who I follow on Twitter mentioning something about him. And everything I have ever seen about Destiny, nothing has ever made me think, oh, I should pay more attention to Destiny. I don't give a shit. He doesn't seem like somebody I am interested in or should pay attention to and would enjoy if I did pay attention to him. So I have no interest. I didn't read his manifesto. I don't care. I mean, the idea of trans people behaving in a certain way to hurt the trans community, I mean, I guess if it's coming from trans people, then I think it's a perspective that deserves to be taken seriously. I mean, you know, at least at first, it deserves to not be dismissed. But I mean, I'm not really the best person to answer that because I'm not a trans person myself, and I have a lot of trans friends, but I'm not like super active specifically in the trans community. So I mean, I'm not really someone to judge or have a strong opinion on that one way or the other. I mean, although I would suspect that, you know, Destiny throwing that out there in a defense of his transphobia or alleged transphobia seems a little opportunistic on his part, you know. Sort of like Dave Chappelle saying, what about my trans friend? You know, but like I said, that's just me. That's just a thought that came to me. I don't know. But thank you very much for the question, Lisa. That's it for the patron and member questions. So now I will turn for the remainder of our time together to the live chat, and let's see what everybody is talking about. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Well, hi, everybody. Okay, yeah. Oh, Steve Dories says, does Steve see the YouTube chat? I do now. I haven't been looking at it for the last several minutes or for the last hour, actually, because I'm reading patron questions, but I see it from now on. Radical Bacon, I have not. I saw that the new Philosophy Tube video was up, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Old Black Cover 95 says, which character from another show should be used if Richard Dean Anderson can't come back to being MacGyver? Personally, Sherlock Holmes might be a good candidate. Holmes is sort of like, like a detective kind of MacGyver. His mind works similar to how MacGyver's works. Holmes would probably be a good MacGyver, sure. Yeah. Or The Pretender, Jared from The Pretender. Right? I mean, actually, I mentioned him. I used him for a gag reference in my last MacGyver video. Kane20C says, hi, Steve, or should I say Clement Moore. Favorite type of mushroom? I mean, I'm not really like I'm not a connoisseur of mushrooms, so I'll say something boring like a portobello. You know, as a vegetarian, a big giant portobello mushroom cap is a very nice substitute for meat. If you cook it right, you can have like a portobello mushroom sandwich just with like the whole cap and eat it like a burger, or you can slice it into strips and saute it and cook it and do like a Philly cheesesteak with mushroom as the meat instead of beef. So a good portobello. Okay, here's some super chats coming in. Here's one from Sinister Intelligence. Just got a small job working for Freed's campaign. $15 an hour, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations. That's great. Here's one from John Burns. Hi, Steve. Very sorry this is late. My question is, you like hockey, so what is your most memorable hockey game? Either one you participated in or you watched. I'm sorry I'm so late on this. No, it's fine. I mean, I don't watch that much hockey. I have seen enough hockey to know that I enjoy it when I watch it, but I don't like it enough to like seek it out, you know? But not a specific game, but I remember watching women's hockey at the Winter Olympics, not this year, but last time. So I guess it would have been 2020. Yeah, not the most recent Winter Olympics, but the last one. And I thought it was just tremendously exciting. I don't remember. I think it was Team Canada versus somebody else, but it was women's hockey, and it was a smashing good time. But I don't remember specifically what the game was. 255 AD with a super chat says, when Dragon Ball rebooted, some fans were upset because they made some old stuff non-canon. So the show established all that stuff happened in an alt universe. Would you have just told those fans to go to hell? I mean, yeah. My instinct is to say go to hell, or to just say, look, God, guys, just get over it. It's a show. But I think the best way to respond is to just simply ignore fans like that. Like, if people are complaining about this, just ignore them. You don't need to respond to them at all. And if you are like at a con or something and somebody asks you a question during a Q&A about it, sing them the Mystery Science Theater theme song. Because that's the only thing I could tell them. Just repeat to yourself, it's just a show. I should really just relax. If you prefer the stuff that we have now decided is non-canon for the new show, then go watch the old stuff. The old stuff is still there. That's fine. Or Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. The correct answer is, who gives a shit? Here is a member message from Kemp Chalmers. Hey, Steve, do you have a favorite spaghetti Western, not counting the Dollars trilogy? Ooh, that's a good one. Not counting the Dollars trilogy. I really don't, because I would have said Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I can't think of another one that I would rank that highly as far as like a spaghetti Western. I mean, does White Comanche count as a spaghetti Western? I think, did Shatner do that in Italy? William Shatner did I think it was a spaghetti Western. He did a really terrible low-budget Western in between seasons of Star Trek in the 60s called White Comanche, where he plays both a cowboy and the cowboy's long-lost twin brother who was adopted by the Comanche and eventually became a Comanche chief. So it's William Shatner playing both roles, and it's wonderfully awful. I want to say it is a spaghetti Western, but I'm not sure if technically it is. Daryl Lett says, okay, you once said your least favorite president was Andrew Jackson. Who's your least favorite vice president? I would have to say mine is Aaron Burr. Oh, I mean, how do I not say Dick Cheney? You know, Cheney was fuck. Aaron Burr's a good one though. Aaron Burr's a good one. Uh, Andrew Johnson. I mean, he was more of a shitty president than he was a shitty vice president. But I mean, you know, and actually, he really wasn't even vice president for very long. But maybe Andrew Johnson. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Burr. Aaron Burr, the only vice president to ever actually kill somebody while he was vice president. So it's kind of hard to vote against him. I think Aaron Burr is a pretty good choice. And a super chat from Kemp who says, Dragon Ball isn't just a show, it's a way of life. Okay. Good. Okay, cool. Tasby 12. The Steve Dana combo looks like Tom Hulse and Amadeus. Let's all have another look. I see that. Holy shit. I see that. Oh, Dana, next time we're on a stream together, we have to take turns doing the Amadeus laugh. Can you do a Mozart laugh like Tom Hulse does in Amadeus? Can you do that? We'll have to try that. Yeah. I totally see that. For sure. 255AD says, how do you think Superman would or should react to a right-wing politician running for president on opposing him because he's anti-fascist? I feel like that would be more of a Clark Kent job. I don't know if Superman would want to publicly come out against the candidate. Unless it was like inarguable, you know what I mean? That this guy is like super dangerous and we have to stop him. Like, then I think Superman might come out and make like a public statement. But I think that's more of a Clark Kent thing. I think Clark and Lois using their, abilities as journalists would be doing the digging and trying to find things out about this guy to, prove that he is unfit for office. I think that's more of a Clark and Lois thing than a Superman thing. Dana needs pink hair. Can you fix that in post? That's true because he there was that one scene where he wore the pink wig, but also I think his natural hair was kind of like redhead. It was like a kind of like a very light sort of strawberry blonde in Amadeus. So yeah, I could put a wig on him maybe. Oh, CMAC. Oh, it's filmed outside Madrid, so not a spaghetti western. Well, shit. So what would that be then? Not a spaghetti western, but like what's it like? Aha! A paella western. There we go. Not a spaghetti western, but a paella western. John Burns, Cheney was never vice president. I guess that you're right in a sense. He was the president. I love everybody getting to paella western right as I did. That's fantastic. Yes, a paella western. Dana, I'm not gonna be an English teacher in Georgia. I'm not going to say anything that'll get you in trouble if anyone who works with you ever sees this, okay? I will just say this, Dana. All the times you have spoken to me and told me work-related stories about where you teach, never, ever, ever have I even remotely had the thought, oh, gee, I wish I worked there. So, it's not going to happen. Radical Bacon says, how good of a reporter is Clark Kent? I think Clark is a pretty good reporter. I mean, at least if I was writing him, I would make him a pretty good reporter. I think he should be. I think Lois should probably be a better reporter than Clark. I think Lois should be the superior reporter, but I mean, I think Clark is a good reporter. John Burns with a super chat. Amazon, you will be silent with your booze. Bought MGM so they own both James Bond, and after some corporate reshuffling, Stargate could play again. Maybe James Bond could be in the next Stargate movie. You know? Or Kurt Russell and James Spader were in the Stargate movie, so maybe they could be in the next James Bond movie. Maybe Kurt Russell could be like an aging Bond, and James Spader could be the Bond villain. And there would be a Stargate in it. Andrew, I think it's more of a Tuvix type deal. It's more of a Tuvix type deal. DJ Kitty Cat says, have you watched For All Mankind? And if so, do you like it? I have not seen For All Mankind. No, I do not have Apple TV. Uh, 255 AD, if it was that kind of a situation, then I'm not sure what Superman would do. I'd have to think about that. Serenium Geek says, you used to plug other folks' stuff at the end of You Had to Ask. Ever thought of bringing that back for Ask Away? Not really, because I don't watch enough YouTube anymore. Like I wouldn't know whose stuff to recommend because I don't really watch that much YouTube. So I don't have a list of stuff that I could recommend. 255 AD says, in real life, the distinction between gimmies, dims, and ghosts is not so blurry. It's functionally non-existent. Some criminals want jobs. Some people lose their jobs because of mental illness. Yeah, I mean, it's a little too neat. You know, I feel like it in the episode, it seems like it seems like they're not quite official designations. Like it's sort of like, well, you act a certain way, so you get pigeonholed as, oh, you're a ghost or you're a dim, or you know what I mean? I'm sure there are official categories with official sounding names that I don't think we ever get to hear, but yeah. Kane 20C says, favorite fast food chicken sandwich. Ooh. Once upon a time, I would have said the Arby's chicken sandwich, because the Arby's chicken sandwich, I'm going to sound like an old man here. I'm going to say back in my day, the Arby's chicken sandwich was goddamn fantastic. You got a huge piece of chicken. It was served on a Kaiser roll with like poppy seeds on top and shredded lettuce and a healthy layer of mayonnaise, and it was the Arby's chicken sandwich about 30 years ago. Trust me, if you don't remember, if you never had an Arby's chicken sandwich like in the mid 90s or earlier, Arby's chicken sandwich was fucking amazing. Nowadays, the Popeyes one is good. The Popeyes one is so good that everybody else has the same sandwich now. Have you noticed that? If you are like a connoisseur of fast food, have you noticed the Popeyes chicken sandwich came out a couple years ago and was like a huge hit, and now every other fast food joint has the Popeyes chicken sandwich. Like, it's the same thing. It's the same size. It has the brioche bun. It has the pickles and the man. Like, it's the exact same sandwich. They all have it now. So I think I have to give it to Popeyes, because not only is it is genuinely a really good chicken sandwich, but it's so good and was so popular that every other fast food restaurant just said, fuck it, we're doing it too. We're having the exact same thing on our menu. Radical bacon. Okay. If we're counting Sheets as fast food, my personal favorite is a roast chicken sub from Sheets. So you get roast chicken, and you have them toast the entire sandwich, and I'll get at least cheddar cheese and maybe another kind of cheese on it as well if I'm feeling ambitious. And you got the chicken and lettuce and pickles, and I usually get some yellow peppers on it, and maybe also some jalapenos on it. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Beautiful. Oh, super chat from Lisa Garrison says, would you ever want to upload your consciousness to the internet like in Amazon's Upload, if they could make a perfect digital copy of your mind? I mean, I guess I'd be dead anyway. It wouldn't actually, like my consciousness wouldn't continue into the copy, so I guess it wouldn't make a difference one way or the other. Now, if I could do that, and it would actually still be me, like if they could just take my actual consciousness and put me into a computer so that I could live forever, and I would still be me, I might consider that. Who wants to live forever? I do. I want to live forever. And live forever in like the endless ocean of the internet? Come on, who wouldn't want to give that a shot? But like, if it's just a copy of my consciousness being uploaded into a computer and it's not really me, like I'm still going to die from my perspective, then what does it really matter? Who gives a shit? If they want my brain, they can have it, I guess. Like, I'm not going to be using it. You know, I'm going to be dead. You go play that duo, Dana. Dana is a master of Duolingo, everybody. I don't know if you know that. Andrew, so what's everyone's opinions on ice cream? Ice cream's pretty dope, right? Yeah, let's bring everybody together. I am a big fan of ice cream. I'm a big fan of ice cream. And, you know, I will go one further with the Chick-fil-A thing, because the statement was that Chick-fil-A has the best chicken sandwich. Not only is Chick-fil-A a shit company run by shit people with shit politics, I'm sorry, the chicken is not that good. Like, even for fast food chicken, it's not that good. The chicken at Burger King is better than the chicken at Chick-fil-A. And chicken's not even in the name. Like, they didn't even name the joint after the chicken, and the chicken at Burger King is better than the chicken at Chick-fil-A. When Chick-fil-A first opened up a location here in Hagerstown, I had heard my whole fucking life, oh, Chick-fil-A, the chicken at Chick-fil-A is amazing. It's the best chicken sandwich in the world. I went to Chick-fil-A and got the chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A when it first opened around here. This is like 20 years ago. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, it wasn't bad, but it was just, okay. It's chicken. It's fast food chicken. It's fine. You know, it's not as good as Burger King. It's not even as good as McDonald's chicken. It's like, it's acceptable fast food chicken. So when I found out after that Chick-fil-A was this incredibly shitty company that was, you know, fundamentalist Christian and anti-gay, and now we know anti-trans and all this shitty, like, that's the easiest boycott I've ever had. Like, when people were saying, like, oh, stop eating Chick-fil-A, they're a shitty company, they support shitty, they donate to shitty causes. No problem. Easiest boycott of my life, because I didn't dig the food in the first place. Campus Star. Oh, CMAC, Wendy's spicy chicken. Oh, fuck yes. Wendy's spicy chicken. Yeah, you know what? I might have to slot that above the Popeyes. The Wendy's spicy chicken is fucking good. And it really hasn't changed all that much over the years. It's largely the same now as it has been for some time. So, oh boy. You know what? Yeah, I'm changing my vote. I'm switching my vote from Popeyes to the Wendy's spicy chicken. Yeah. Oh, thank you for that, C-Mac. How could I have forgotten? How could I have forgotten Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich? So good. So good. There was something else. Kane 20C said 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. Roger Ebert or Gene Siskel. As The Onion said at the time of Gene Siskel's death, Ebert victorious. I would bet on Ebert every time. Because not only was Ebert physically larger, not only was Ebert, with all due respect to Siskel, who I also loved, not only was Ebert the better critic and the better writer, but Ebert was mean. Like, I mean, Siskel could get mean sometimes too, but like Ebert was mean. If you fucked with Ebert, Ebert would fuck you up. I have no doubt. I feel like Gene Siskel was too kind and gentle of a soul deep down in his heart to really survive a fight to the death with Roger Ebert. I think Ebert would literally have eaten him. I think the guards would have unlocked the door and come in to see what the result of the fight was, and there would be Ebert sitting over there in the corner, and there'd be a pile of fucking clean bones. And that's not a fat joke. I'm not saying, oh, Ebert was fat, he would have eaten him. No, I'm saying that's how vicious he was. Killing him wouldn't have been enough to satisfy his rage. He would have killed him and eaten him out of pure viciousness. Ebert all the way. Ebert all the way. Gene does have the reach. You're right. Gene does have the reach. But what good is the reach going to do when you've got Roger Ebert ripping your neck open with his teeth? You're going to punch him? You're going to punch a guy who's biting your neck with his teeth and ripping your throat out? Oh, stop it. Come on. Your reach ain't going to do no good when he's right here. Hi, Matthew. Super chat from John Burns says, note that Papa John's CEO who got himself fired for the racist epitaph, Adam Carolla, their pizza sucks. When Adam Carolla is shooting on you, you suck. Yeah, for real. For real. Dana, exactly. I feel like you and Ebert would have gotten along very well. You know? I mean, I don't know that Ebert, would have done that, but I feel like he would have. I just feel like that's where he would have gone. Joe goes over with a super chat. Roger Ebert wasn't going to be biting too many people in the neck at the end. Oh, Joe, why'd you have to go there? Respect. Respect. That's really good. But why'd you have to go there? That's, Yes, Kane, in their prime. Yes, like Siskel and Ebert circa 1985 or something, at the height of the Siskel and Ebert craze. Was there a Siskel and Ebert craze? I mean, there was in my house. I watched every week. But yeah, but anyway, respect. $255 AD says, so my idea was the story starts in a fast future USA where old Kent is like living in isolation because he decided he'd have to either assassinate not Trump or retire, so he retired. Now that is a really interesting starting point for sure. Blackcover95 says, what do you think of that conservative dating app Ryan McEnany is promoting, The Right Stuff? A lot of YouTubers seem very angry about it. I think I've heard of it, but I haven't thought about it at all. I don't give a shit. As far as I'm concerned, if conservatives want to wall themselves off on their own dating apps and their own social media services, let them. Go ahead. Go ahead. Ghettoize yourselves. That's completely fine with me. I do not give a shit. Lisa Garrison says, you should play more games. Soma's ending will mess with your head based on your upload answer. I have no idea what Soma is. S-O-M-A. I have no idea what that is. I play exactly as many games as I want to, by the way. John Burns with the super chat. If Stargate comes back, Dark Matter plus 2 C's. You're really a big fan of Dark Matter, aren't you? Yeah, Kane 20Z. That's good. Why'd you have to go there? Says the guy who brings up the Challenger. And don't forget, Apollo 1. That was, I feel like that's still maybe one of my proudest moments on late seating when I made a completely gratuitous Apollo 1 joke. Yeah, I'm so insufferably proud of that joke. Because as I explained at the time and have mentioned subsequently when Jason and I have talked about it, the astronauts who died in Apollo 1 were my heroes. My heroes. Gus Grissom, the second American in space. Hero of mine. I love Gus Grissom. I idolized Gus Grissom as a child. Ed White, the first American to walk in space. Like, come on. I mean, Roger Chaffee had not really done anything that noteworthy in the space program before. Like, Apollo 1 was going to be his big deal. And unfortunately, he died, before that could happen. But, I mean, Ed White and Gus Grissom are legends. Were legends before Apollo 1. I mean, they were like, they're heroes they're literally heroes of mine. And I made that Apollo 1 joke on late seating. So, I guess nothing is sacred, I guess. And I was so delighted. I was giggling like a fucking, like a child who just farted in church after I told that joke. So that's why I say respect for the Ebert cancer joke. Super chat from Nick Jeffrey. Hi, Steve. I can safely say that while there have been series I prefer overall, I think Strange New Worlds Season 1 was the most consistently great Star Trek series ever. I will say this. I don't think there is another Star Trek series that has a perfect first season. As much as I like and will continue to defend Deep Space Nine's first season, I don't think it is a perfect season. As great as Classic Trek's first season is, and it's terrific. A lot of classic episodes in the first season of Classic Trek. I don't think it's perfect. I think the first season of Strange New Worlds is perfect. I don't think there is a bad episode in it. And yeah, it's only 10 episodes, so there's that. You have a 1,000 batting average, but you have fewer at bats, so it's a little easier to do. But even so, it's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, what other first season of a Star Trek show? Hey, let's look at it this way. Instead of saying the perfect season, what other first season of a Star Trek series has 10 good episodes in a row with a couple of genuinely great episodes in there among them? So there is definitely an argument that Strange New World Season 1 is the best first season of any Star Trek show. I don't know if I'm quite willing to go that far. But there's a very strong argument to be made, for sure. Like, it's not the sort of thing, if somebody says that to me, says, I think Strange New World had the best first season of any Star Trek show ever, that is not something I would scoff at. Oh, John Burns, Rittenhouse dating show, first date, shooting range. Again, respect for the complete tastelessness of that joke. John Burns with another super chat. TOS first season was the best TOS season. I think so too, actually. I think so too. 255 AD says, and then a young anti-fascist superhero seeks him out and tells him he's a coward for not opposing the regime. So Superman tells him why, DS9 visitor style. Oh, this is good. I like this. I like this a lot. CMAC, no, I don't think TNG has a perfect first season because there are actually a couple of decent episodes in there. Without those, it would have been a perfectly bad first season. It would have been like, for whatever, 25, however many episodes there are in the first season of TNG. But there are a couple of good episodes thrown in there in the mix. Not many, not many, but a couple. But it's almost a perfect season in the opposite way. Yes, Dana, in a row? Andrew says Lower Decks has the best first season for my money. Well, not for my money, Andrew. You spend your money the way you want to. I'll spend my money the way I want to. Steve Dory says, are you aware of the Kefals doxing swatting situation? In a very general way. I'm aware of it to the extent that I'm aware of it enough to know that it sucks and it's a shitty situation. And I feel very badly for Kefals, but I don't know a lot about it. Like I was not familiar with their work before that. And, you know, it's not something, it's something I've seen people talking about on Twitter, and I've occasionally clicked through to read a little bit more about it, but I don't know everything about it, but I know enough to know that it sounds like a really shitty situation, like a really, really shitty situation. Radical Bacon says, a friend of mine has a fat cat and a skinny cat, and restricting the diet of the fat one has somehow made the skinnier cat skinnier. What do? Well, try feeding the skinny cat more and see if the fat cat gets skinnier. I mean, I would at least give it a shot. John Burns says, but think of the ratings. None of those typical complaints about woke dating shows. John, it's thinking like that has allowed Discovery to purchase Warner Brothers. In a sane world, a company known for producing cheap, trashy reality shows should not have been able to purchase fucking Warner Brothers. But it happened because of shit like that. Because not only do they make shows like that, but enough people watch them that the company that produces them can become, you know, a mega corporation. Have we not learned our lesson? Kefals, whatever I don't even know how their name is pronounced. But anyway, Andrew, that is a good point. Your money does pay a portion of my wages. Wow, now Andrew, that just show. I'm looking at your earlier message in the chat where you say, I'm thrilled that Steve loves Strange New Worlds so much, but if I was listing my top 10 favorite episodes of Trek from the last 5 years, I don't think any would be from Stranger. So we're really far apart. Like, we're really far apart on the new Star Trek stuff, apparently. Because, like, I mean, all 10 of mine would not be Strange New Worlds episodes because, I mean, I have genuinely enjoyed some Discovery episodes quite a lot, and there were 1 or 2 episodes of Star Trek Prodigy as well that I thought were fantastic. Especially that sort of time skip episode that was one of their last episodes of the ones they've released so far. Was really good. So it wouldn't be all Strange New Worlds, but it would be a lot. Like, it would be quite a few of the top 10 would be Strange New Worlds episodes, but certainly not all. Kane20C says, okay, this is a stretch, but hypothetically you're at a karaoke bar and you must sing a song. What song do you choose? I choose Desolation Row by Bob Dylan because I can sing the entire thing straight through by heart, and after I'm done, nobody will ever ask me to sing karaoke there again. Andrew bragging about his overtime pay. It's funny. Oh, bye, Andrew. My lunch hour finished 30 minutes ago. Bye, folks. Bye, Andrew. Thanks for stopping by. Radical Bacon says, so there's a new race in D&D called the GIF, and the lore says there's 2 camps, the soft G and the hard G. Which camp would you be in? I think I just answered that. There you go. You're welcome. Jobin, I can't tell if you're telling a joke or if you have the exact opposite opinion of season 2 of Picard that I have. Because if it's a joke, then it's brilliant. If it's not, then we're as far apart as two people can be. Nick Jeffrey says, I can sing the entire Spanish national anthem. Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Good for you. That's a brilliant joke, Jobin. It's a brilliant joke. I kind of thought you were because it was so perfect, but you don't know. There are some people who genuinely thought season 2 of Picard was good. So I mean, I wasn't sure, but that's good. Dana, with 2 F's, I would say GIF. With 1 F, as in like an animated GIF, I would say GIF. Oh, Nick, the Spanish national anthem has no lyrics. Well, how the fuck am I supposed to know that? You got one over on old Shives, huh? You feel good about yourself? You feeling good? You got one over on me. You made me look like a fool by knowing a thing I didn't know. Good job. Good job. It is pretty funny. That is pretty funny. Radical Bacon says there's a Gus Grissom shrine at the Gus Grissom Library in Newport News. Well, I mean, that would be the place for it, wouldn't it? Is that good enough for a visit? It's tempting. Sure. It's tempting. I will fight you with my fists and tusks if you mispronounce GIF again. Um, 255 AD says, I'm really good at premises, but not endings. Like I have no idea what that superhero should say to old Superman when he finishes his story. Neither do I. I'm sorry. I can't think of an ending right now either. Kane20C, now we're getting into the real questions. Is cereal a soup? Note there are many cold soups. I don't think that cereal is a soup because you don't need to put milk on cereal to eat it. You can eat cereal dry. If you have just a bowl of cornflakes, well, that's cereal, but it ain't soup. So no, I do not think cereal qualifies as a soup. No. CMAC Newport News isn't too far from Hagerstown. Let's find out. Oh, it's less than a 4-hour drive. It's less than a 4-hour drive. I'm not making any plans, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not making any plans to go anytime soon, but yeah, it's nice to know it's not that far away. Yeah, see, Chief Dancing Ostrich, that is, I think Kane20C is right there. I mean, cereal is sweet, not soup. It's breakfast. I agree with you that it's not soup, but just because it's sweet doesn't automatically disqualify because there are sweet soups. And savory cereals. Yes, indeed. Oatmeal is gruel. I like, honestly, one of my favorite things to have for lunch during the week is oatmeal with peanut butter and honey. It's delicious. It's just plain oatmeal, and I just microwave it. It's like instant oatmeal. Microwave it with some milk, and then put a couple of big honking spoonfuls of peanut butter in it while it's still hot, and stir it around, and put in a little bit of honey for sweetness. And oh, so good, so good. So I've had some good oatmeal too. Alyssa Parent says, if I were to visit the American South, what would be your top 10 places? Don't. Why? Don't. No, don't visit the South. Don't visit the South. I'm uncomfortable enough living so close to it. Don't visit the South. Don't. Don't. Visit Maryland. You can come visit us in Maryland. That's as close to the South as you need to get. Yeah, John, I think I said that the best. Thank you again for the super chat. But TOS's first season was the best TOS season. I think I agree. I think I agree. Yeah, well, yeah, New Orleans. There you go. If you can jump straight to New Orleans, as K20C suggests, maybe do that. Ooh, you know what? That's a good one, Sinister. Yeah, you know what? The space stuff is in the South. Yeah, you're right. The space stuff is in the South. I would travel south to visit, the Johnson Space Center, or to visit Cape Kennedy. To visit NASA in Florida. I would go south for that. I would go south for the NASA stuff. Yeah, but that's it. Well, there might be a few other things I go south for, but. Oh, Joe, that is a good argument. That I wouldn't give any southern states tourism dollars until they knock it off. I love that phrasing. I love that phrasing. Until they knock it off. Just knock it off. Radical Bacon, what's his face? Who is what's his face? Are you what's his face's next film should be What Is a Soup? You mean Ken Burns? Because I was mentioning Ken Burns documentaries earlier. Should Ken Burns do a documentary called What Is a Soup? And it should be like a 10-hour, like 5-episode series on PBS exploring the question of what is a soup. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Lisa. Yeah, Huntsville has Space Camp. Do they still do Space Camp? I mean, I guess apparently they do. For some reason I thought they stopped doing Space Camp, or maybe they did and then they started it up again. I can't remember. But yeah, great. Yeah, okay. God, but again, it's all space stuff. It's a to go. The only reason for anyone to go south is for space stuff. Kane 20C favorite completed Disney Plus Marvel show. It might still be WandaVision, actually. I I really liked WandaVision. I really liked Hawkeye. I really liked Falcon and Winter Soldier. I really liked Miss Marvel. I like Miss Marvel a lot, actually. I mean, I've liked them all to one degree or another, but there are certain ones I that I liked a lot more than others. I think I don't know. I'd still probably say WandaVision is my favorite. And then maybe Hawkeye, and then maybe Miss Marvel. I'm not sure. It's tough because like I just watched Miss Marvel, so it's more fresh in my mind, and it's been like I haven't rewatched any of them, so I'm just going by memory, you know. But I do, and Miss Marvel kind of gets lost in the middle, you know, like episodes 4 and 5 are kind of like, what are they doing? And then they bring it back with the last episode, they really nail the ending. But like the first episode of Miss Marvel is fantastic. Probably of the ones that have been released in their entirety, probably WandaVision is still my favorite. Oh, Matt Walsh, yeah, the guy, the What Is a Woman? Again, I'm very dimly aware of it. Like I know, I think Jesse did a video about it that I saw that I didn't watch, but I saw was posted, and I saw, okay, the Matt Walsh thing. But yeah, Ken Burns would be 100%, would be 1,000% better. Well, of course he would. He's a fine filmmaker. He's a fine documentarian, Ken Burns. Some random geek, how long would the Ken Burns documentary on Is a Hot Dog a Sandwich be? Well, let's see. The Civil War was 11 and a half hours. Baseball was 19 and a half hours. Jazz was what, like 12 or 13 hours. Country music was something in that range as well. Like for his Is a Hot Dog a Sandwich? I'd say probably about 15 or 16 hours you'd have to go to really explore all sides of the question, you know. Oh, Space Force HQ is in Huntsville. Great. Well, you know what, Joe? I've had mayo on hot dogs before, and I think it's good. It's not my usual topping. Like, I don't put mayo on hot dogs generally. I'm with hot dogs, I'm a ketchup and mustard guy, but I've had mayo on hot dogs before, and I think it's fine. I like mayo on a lot of stuff. I think it's fine. You know, I got it. Yeah, I mean, Katie Montgomery doesn't like to hear that because she's unreasonably, you know, hostile to mayo, but I'm very much in the pro mayo camp. Ooh, hot sauce on fries. Some random geek. Yeah, I can dig that. Um, Joe, there's nothing to be afraid of. Not brave enough for mayo on a hot dog? What's there to be afraid of, my friend? There's nothing to be afraid of. You just actually, you know what? Get the mayo that comes in a squirt bottle, right? Then it feels just like you're putting mustard or ketchup on it. You're not, you know, you don't have to like spread it on with a knife. Maybe that feels like weird to you, right? You just squirt it on. It's fine. Or like in the little packets, you know, just same application. It's fine. It's fine. It's nothing to be scared of. We're all scared sometimes, buddy. Um, uh, Hour 12 of the Ken Burns documentary is fried chicken a ravioli. Oh my God. Kane 20Z, Popeye's chicken sandwich, spicy or normal? I mean, I could go for both. I've had both versions, but I generally go for spicy. Um, if that is an option. Now, I'm not like I don't like things too spicy. Like I'm not someone who's like it can't be spicy enough for me. Put more spice. Like I'm fine with a moderate level of spice, and that's usually what you get. Like at a fast food place, you don't. It's never like sweat-inducingly spicy, right? It's spicy enough to give it a little bit of a bite, and that's what I like. Just give it a little bit of a bite. So I would go for I think I do prefer the spicy chicken sandwich from Popeyes, just like I prefer the spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's. Sauerkraut on hot dogs is good, Daryl, for sure. Sauerkraut on hot dogs is good. Um, Joe, yeah, mayo on French fries. I agree. The fry has to be thick enough to support the mayo. Like a skinny fry that'll break is no good. You need something that'll be thick enough to support the mayo. 100%. Um, yeah, Radical Bacon. Ken Burns has made short films, and he's made like just one part documentaries or two part. They're not all epic, series for sure. Actually, some of his best stuff has been just one or two part documentaries. Like his big breakout was his documentary about the Brooklyn Bridge, which I think is just a one parter, or might be a two parter, but it's not like a 10-hour epic. See you, Mac. I had a brief ranch on fries phase. I'm not proud. Nobody judges you here, man. It's okay. Nobody judges you. I mean, there is something about ranch dressing, isn't there? Like you can, if you don't keep a handle on it, like you can find yourself just putting it on everything. Like I've never been like a huge ranch dressing fan myself, but I have certainly, if you're like at a party or something where you have like a vegetable plate and it has ranch dressing for dipping, like it is a little addictive, isn't it? It's a little addictive. I've never really liked it on salad. I prefer thinner, sort of more oily dressings for salad, or like a vinaigrette or something like that, or like an Italian dressing, something you can see through. Something where you can see the shit floating in it. Not nothing too thick. But I like ranch. Ranch is like a siren that calls you. Um, Kane 20C says, "What kind of meat is used in a shepherd's pie?" I think isn't traditionally it's lamb, isn't it? But when I have made it in the past, I've always used beef because that was what I had available, and that was, and I think that's the way my parents made it, and um, I've always used beef, but I think originally, according to the traditional recipe, I think it's lamb you're supposed to use. Um, Oh, Radical Bacon. Oh, I love Ashokan Farewell too. Oh God, now I have it here. Now I'm playing it in my head. Oh, Ashokan Farewell. It's like, and for anybody who doesn't know, it's like the theme song of Ken Burns' Civil War. It's so beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful. I'm gonna have to listen to that now. I'm gonna have to listen to that now. Some random geek says, "Have you ever mixed foods before, like putting pizza rolls on my burger or mini tacos on my pizza?" Not really. No, not so much. When I was a kid and I was sort of experimenting with cooking, and when I say a kid, like 10, you know what I mean? Like when I was experimenting with cooking, and I would make soups. I would make soups with just whatever random ingredients we had in the fridge. And I went through a phase where I was putting like sliced bologna, like Oscar Mayer bologna in soup. That was a little weird, but that's not quite exact. That's not exactly what you're saying. But that's no, as far as like mixing foods like that. I don't think I've ever done that. It's traditionally made with shepherd. Yeah. I mean, it was peasant food. I mean that shit literally. Yannick Muller says, hey, Steve, do you have a movie you wish you liked? It's a movie that I don't like that I wish I did like. I can't really think of any. I can't think of a movie that I've ever sort of felt bad for not liking or have regretted not liking. I mean, in a sense, I could say, well, like every movie I don't like, I wish I liked, because if I don't like it, the reason I don't like it is usually because it just doesn't move me. It doesn't touch me. And I would, would I prefer that I liked it, meaning that it did touch me in some way? Yes, of course. So I guess there are movies like that, but I can't think of any specific movie where I'm like, I wish I don't like that, but I wish I did, Anyway, we're at the 5-minute mark before the end of the hour, so I'm going to start wrapping up. And if any, well, thank you, Daryl. Now I don't feel so alone. Bologna in soup. Solidarity, brother. So I'm going to start wrapping up. If anybody has any final questions or comments for the live chat, you can go ahead and throw them up now. And I'm going to start wrapping up. Yeah, see, Geek, that's exactly like you don't like Vertigo and you have no regrets. I love Vertigo, but I don't think you should regret not liking it. I mean, Jason doesn't really like it either. I don't think that you should feel bad about it. You like what you like. You don't like what you don't like. So, yeah. Anyway, Geek is posting a bunch of links in the chat. I would encourage all of you to take note of those, specifically the charity links that are also linked in the description of this video, charitylinks.page. Help out some friends of ours who need a helping hand. Also, don't forget, if you want to support my channel, you can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/Steve Shives, or become a channel member by clicking the join button. And all patrons and members at any level get access to the ability to vote in polls to choose upcoming Trek Actually topics. And you also get to submit questions ahead of time for these Ask Away live streams. And yeah, I think that's it. At least those are the relevant perks. And also don't forget, in addition to YouTube stuff, Radical Bacon, would I review a Ken Burns doc for late seating? I mean, I totally would. Yeah, I don't know if Jason would be up for it. I don't think Jason would consider them to meet our criteria for the show. But I totally would, yeah. I love Ken Burns stuff. Anyway, speaking of Jason, in addition to the YouTube stuff, I'm also on a couple of podcasts as a part of the Let Me Listen family of podcasts. Late Seating, the movie review podcast, where Jason and I review classic films and see if they deserve whatever their reputation is, be it good or bad. And also the Ensign's Log, where it's myself and Jason and Dana who are participating in a Star Trek themed comedy podcast where we play low-ranking officers serving aboard a certain Federation starship. Although now we are currently having an adventure, like a time travel adventure on the show, if you've been keeping up. But anyway, you should check out both podcasts, and especially if you dig the Star Trek stuff, you should check out the Ensign's Log. I think you'll really enjoy it. Links are in the description. And you can listen to all the Let Me Listen podcasts, including the ones I'm not on, at soundcloud.com/lemmy-listen. Also, don't forget, tomorrow on Dana's channel is the Saturday 6, Dana's bi-weekly live stream where she talks about some of the good things that have happened both in the world and to her personally. It's a nice sort of pick-me-up and being able to look on the bright side when things aren't looking so great. It is tomorrow starting at 6 p.m. Eastern on Dana's channel. The link to Dana's channel is in the description of this video. I can't remember if Dana has scheduled the live stream already or not. If she has, then the link to the actual live stream is probably in the description. If not, I will add it as soon as she schedules the event, and I'll also be sharing it on my social media over the weekend and stuff. So, or just go to Dana's YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dana Calderas, and I will be in the live chat tomorrow as usual. Somebody in the chat says, somebody geek said, did you and Jason ever review a doc for Late Seating? I don't think we have, actually. I don't think we have. I would love to, though. I would love to review a documentary for Late Scene, but I don't think we have. Anyway, that's it, everybody. Thank you all for joining me. Thanks for watching. It is there. Oh, good, Dana. Awesome. It's there. So there you go. Watch Dana's Saturday 6 stream tomorrow at 6 p.m. on her YouTube channel. And I will, so for those of you who watch that, I'll see you in the chat tomorrow, and I will see you next week for all kinds of stuff. And don't forget, a week from tonight, Dana and I are doing a live stream together. We're doing a special episode of our Readaway series where we are first discussing the Jerome Bixby short story, It's a Good Life, and then we are doing a watch-along of the Twilight Zone episode based on it, starring Bill Mumy, the Twilight Zone episode, It's a Good Life, classic episode. And we're going to talk about the original short story first, and then we'll all watch the episode together. So make sure you can find or have access to a copy of that Twilight Zone episode, either because you subscribe to Paramount Plus or some other streaming service where it's available, or you have it on DVD or whatever. Get to a place where you can watch the It's a Good Life episode of the Twilight Zone, and you can watch along with us a week from tonight after we discuss the short story. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. Anyway, that's it, everybody. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you around. Bye-bye.